PPC kids! This is take 4, by the way. I've done this a lot of times. Credit goes to Miss Eliza for doing this every week because it's not easy. The cat walked in front of the screen one time. I knocked over the video camera. So let's hope that number 4 is the charm, okay? This week's story is about courage. Our story is called I Used All My Courage. It's based on 2 Samuel 17 through 21. Let me see if I can hit you with some pictures here. Okay, so it's about a little girl who was very brave, and this is her telling her story. See the little picture? Okay. All right, let me redo the story. Do you ever think that you are too small or too young to do something important? The girl who tells this story helped a king. Now, and this is her telling her story, okay? When I was a little girl, I lived with my family, and David was our king. My father would say, King David is not perfect, but he is our king. My mother would often reply, he has hard choices to make, but he always trusts God. After King David brought his son Absalom home, his son decided that he wanted to be king. Absalom began gathering support from communities all around the country. He traveled to my town and set up camp here. In my neighborhood, some people loved King David. Others wanted Absalom to be the king. Our town was divided. King David sent 2 of his men to follow Absalom and find out what he planned to do. He still loved his son, but he knew he couldn't trust him. There I was, a young girl who wanted to help her king. I followed the men to their hiding place on the edge of town. I told King David's men, I can move around my neighborhood and keep an eye on the king's son and all his men. I can come and tell you everything I see. No one will pay attention to me because I belong here. The men agreed. I used all my courage to go back and forth each day to report. One day, a boy whose family supported the king's son saw me talking to the king's men. He ran to tell on me. My heart beat fast as I ran with King David's men to my house. My father helped them climb into our well. My mother was clever. She covered the well with her towel and piled grain on top. Men who worked for the king's son came around the corner just as she finished. They searched our home. I was afraid, but my mother was very brave. She shouted, the men you are looking for are not here. The men gave up and ran away. They went across the water in search of King David's men. My mother lifted the covering from the well. The king's men climbed out and ran in the other direction. They hurried to tell King David all that had happened. I was proud of my family for being brave, but I hated the way our neighborhood was divided. Okay. Now, the little girl in the story was very brave. She did something that could have brought harm to herself and her family. She did it simply because she believed it was the right thing to do. That's very inspiring, and as you get older and eventually become an adult, you'll have more and more opportunities to be brave like this and take a stand for things that you feel are right. But now, here's my mom disclaimer. I just want to clarify here that while this little girl was very brave, I wouldn't want one of my kids putting themselves in this kind of danger. So if you're ever confronted with an extreme situation like this, something that could cause you or someone else harm, please remember to always check with your parents, teachers, or a trusted adult, okay? Now, with that being said, being brave doesn't have to involve something as grand as spying on someone. Being brave can be as simple as standing up for a classmate who's being picked on during recess. You guys could totally do that. It might be very difficult to take a stand in a situation like that, but that's where the bravery part comes in. Because just like the little girl in the story, bravery means having the courage to stand up for what you know is right. Another example where you might need to summon courage could be getting a shot at the doctor's office or starting at a new school. Those are all things that can be pretty scary, and it takes courage to get through them. And when you're confronted with these situations, remember that God is with you. You can pray. You can ask God for courage. Here's a simple prayer that you can pray when you need courage. It's called the breath prayer. Breathe in and think or say, no matter where I am, then breathe out and think or say, God is with me. So, no matter where I am, God is with me. No matter where I am, God is with me. No matter where I am, God is with me. So the breathing will help you to calm down, and the praying will help you to talk to God and remember that He's there with you. So now let's close in prayer. God of strength and courage, attune us to your presence, especially in those times when we feel alone and afraid. Amen. So that's our lesson. Take number 4. Thanks, you guys. Have a great week.